Should have known better than to accept Marina's offer. Just fill in for one night, she'd begged. The pay is incredible, and all you have to do is serve champagne at some fancy masquerade ball. I needed the money desperately. My art wasn't selling, rent was overdue, and my stomach had been growling for 2 days straight. So there I was, dressed in an ill-fitting server's uniform with a simple black mask, weaving through a ballroom filled with people who spent more on their shoes than I made in a month. The Ashford estate was breathtaking, all marble columns, crystal chandeliers, and guests dripping in diamonds. I felt like an imposter, which technically I was. These people belonged to a world I could only paint in my fantasies. More champagne, a woman with a peacock feather mask demanded, barely glancing at me. I nodded, refilling her glass while trying to remain invisible. That's when I felt it, a presence behind me that made every hair on my body stand on end. A voice, deep and cold as winter frost, spoke near my ear. "You're not supposed to be here." I turned and nearly dropped my tray. He towered over me, broad-shouldered and imposing in an all-black suit. His silver wolf mask covered the upper half of his face, but his eyes, those piercing ice-blue eyes, seemed to see straight through me. "I'm just serving," I stammered. "Not what I meant." His gaze raked over me with an intensity that made my skin flush. "You don't move like them. Don't smell like them either." "Smell like them? What a strange thing to say. I should go." His hand caught my wrist, gentle but firm. The contact sent electricity shooting up my arm. "Don't. Please." There was something desperate in that word, something vulnerable that didn't match his cold exterior. Against my better judgment, I stayed. "The garden," he murmured. "5 minutes. Lose the tray first." He disappeared into the crowd before I could respond. I stood there, heart hammering, knowing I should absolutely not meet a strange masked man in a dark garden. But something pulled me toward him, something I couldn't explain or resist. 5 minutes later, I found myself on a moonlit terrace overlooking roses that probably cost more than my car. He was waiting by a marble fountain, mask still in place. "You came," he said, sounding almost surprised. "I'm probably going to regret this," I admitted. The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Probably." He stepped closer, and I noticed how his hands were clenched at his sides, like he was restraining himself. "I don't even know your name." "Maybe it's better that way," I whispered. The masks, the moonlight, the champagne I'd stolen a sip of, it all felt like a dream. Like this wasn't really happening. "Maybe," he agreed, reaching up to trace the edge of my simple mask. "Just for tonight then. No names. No reality. Just this." When he kissed me, the world tilted. His lips were surprisingly soft against mine, though his grip on my waist was possessive, almost desperate. I should have pushed him away. Should have remembered my place. But I'd been so lonely, so tired of struggling, and for once I wanted to feel wanted. "Come with me," he breathed against my mouth. I nodded, beyond words and reason. He led me through a side entrance, up a marble staircase, into a room that was clearly his private chamber. Rich burgundy curtains, a massive 4-poster bed, and windows overlooking the estate grounds. The door clicked shut behind us, and suddenly the reality of what I was about to do hit me. "We don't have to," he started, but I silenced him with another kiss. I didn't want to think. Didn't want to remember that I was nobody and he was clearly somebody important. For one night, I wanted to be reckless. What happened next was a blur of sensation. His hands on my skin, surprisingly gentle despite their strength. The way he whispered things in a language I didn't understand. How he seemed to worship every inch of me while simultaneously claiming me with an intensity that left me breathless. Afterwards, we lay tangled in silk sheets, his arm heavy across my waist. I traced the family crest embroidered on the pillowcase, a wolf and crown. Important indeed. "I wish." He started, then stopped. "What?" "Nothing. Just, thank you. For tonight." There was such sadness in his voice that I turned to look at him, but he'd closed his eyes. Within minutes, his breathing evened out into sleep. I should have stayed. Should have been there when he woke up. But as dawn light crept through the curtains and I saw his face clearly for the first time, sharp cheekbones, a small scar above his eyebrow, features that belonged on magazine covers, panic set in. This was a mistake. A beautiful, incredible mistake that people like me didn't get to keep. I dressed quickly, quietly, and slipped out before the estate woke fully. My neck ached where he'd kissed it, hard enough to leave a mark. I pulled my collar up to hide it. The next 3 weeks passed in a haze. I threw myself into painting, trying to capture those ice blue eyes from memory. Trying to forget how his hands felt on my skin. Trying to move on from a night that never should have happened. Then came the nausea. The fatigue. The missed period. I stared at the third positive pregnancy test, hands shaking. This couldn't be happening. We'd used protection, at least I thought we had. That night was such a blur of passion and champagne. I was pregnant. With a stranger's baby. A stranger whose name I didn't even know. I clutched my still flat stomach and did the only thing I could do. I cried. 2 months. 2 months of scraping by on crackers and ginger tea, watching my body betray me in ways I never imagined possible. The nausea was relentless, but that wasn't even the worst part. I was changing. It started small, craving raw meat at 3 in the morning, which was disturbing since I'd been vegetarian for years. Then came the fevers that spiked randomly, leaving me drenched in sweat and shaking. My senses sharpened until I could hear my neighbor's television through 2 walls and smell what they were cooking 3 floors down. And my eyes. Got my eyes. Sometimes when I looked in the mirror, I swore they glowed amber in the darkness. This isn't normal, Dr. Chen said, frowning at my blood work for the 3rd time. She was a kind woman in her 50s who'd been patient with my lack of insurance. Your hormone levels are... I've never seen anything like this. I'm referring you to a specialist. I can't afford a specialist, I said quietly, fighting back tears. She squeezed my hand. This one doesn't take insurance anyway. She's alternative medicine. But she might have answers. She scribbled an address on a prescription pad. Tell her I sent you. The address led me to a narrow shop in Chinatown, wedged between a dumpling house and a pharmacy. The windows were dusty, filled with dried herbs and strange figurines. A bell chimed as I entered, and the scent of incense hit me so strongly I nearly gagged. Dr. Chen's patient? A voice croaked from the back. An elderly woman emerged, her hair silver white, her eyes sharp and knowing. She looked at me for exactly 3 seconds before gasping. Oh, child. Comes it. Quickly. Something in her tone made me obey. She circled me like a hawk, muttering in what sounded like Mandarin, occasionally reaching out to touch my forehead, my wrists, my stomach. You've been marked, she finally said, her English heavily accented but clear. By a high blood alpha. Very powerful one. I laughed nervously. I'm sorry, what? Alphas aren't real. That's just Omegaverse fanfiction stuff. Her expression didn't change. You think fanfiction writers make everything up from nothing? Some truths hide in plain sight, dismissed as fantasy. She pointed at my stomach. How far along? 8 weeks, maybe 9. No. Look at yourself. I glanced down and froze. My loose shirt, which had hidden everything just fine this morning, now strained against a distinct bump. A bump that definitely wasn't there 2 hours ago. What the hell? I stumbled backward, hands flying to my stomach. It was real. Solid. I looked 4 months pregnant, not 2. Alpha pregnancies progress faster, the old woman explained calmly, pouring tea I didn't remember her making. Especially with high blood alphas. You'll be showing in days, not months. Full term in 5 months instead of 9. This is insane, I whispered, but even as I said it, pieces clicked into place. The strange symptoms. The way he'd seemed almost inhuman that night. His strength, his intensity, the way he'd known things about me without asking. You're Omega, she continued. Dormant one, probably didn't even know. But Alpha awakened you. Now you're bonded whether you like it or not. Bonded? The word tasted like metal in my mouth. Her expression turned grave. Problem is bond incomplete. Alpha marked you but didn't claim you properly. Didn't know you were Omega, probably. She leaned forward. If Alpha doesn't claim you before birth, complete the bond. Birth could kill you both. Baby too strong for incomplete Omega body. The room spun. You're telling me I need to find a one-night stand from 2 months ago or I'll die giving birth to his superpowered baby? Yes. No sugarcoating. Just brutal honesty. I don't even know his name. I don't know anything except, I stopped, remembering the crest on the pillowcase. A wolf and crown. Wait, I might know his family at least. She pressed something into my hand, a small jade pendant. Wear this. Will help with fevers, slow down pregnancy a little. Give you time. But not much. Find him soon, child. I left the shop in a daze, the pendant warm against my chest. I pulled out my phone and started searching, Wolf Crown Crest Noble Family. The results hit me like a truck. The Ashford family. One of the oldest, wealthiest bloodlines in the country. And their heir. My phone slipped from my numb fingers. Duke Damien Ashford. Ice blue eyes. Sharp cheekbones. A small scar above his left eyebrow. The same face I'd been painting from memory for 2 months. I'd slept with a duke. And now I was carrying his impossible baby. I needed to find him. I wasn't watching where I was going. Didn't see the solid wall of muscle until I crashed into it. Strong hands caught my shoulders, steadying me, and a familiar scent, cedar and winter frost, made my entire body react. Watch where you're, the voice cut off abruptly. I looked up into ice blue eyes that widened in recognition. No mask this time. Just Damien Ashford, Duke of Ashford, staring at me like I'd risen from the dead. His nostrils flared, and something predatory flickered across his face. You, he breathed. Then his gaze dropped to my stomach, where my coat couldn't quite hide the bump. I watched his expression shift from shock to understanding to something cold and terrible. Is that mine? His voice was arctic. I should have lied. Should have run. But I was so tired of being alone and scared. Yes, I whispered. His jaw clenched. Get in the car. What? Now. Not a request. A command that made something deep inside me want to obey. A black luxury car pulled up as if summoned. He opened the door, his hand on my lower back burning through my coat. We need to talk, he said, his voice carefully controlled. Privately. I looked at his face, cold, unreadable, nothing like the desperate man who'd kissed me in the moonlight. And I realized my nightmare was just beginning. The penthouse was everything I expected, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, furniture that probably cost more than I'd earn in a lifetime, and a coldness that had nothing to do with the temperature. Damien paced like a caged animal, running his hands through his dark hair. I stood near the door, unsure if I should sit or run. How do I know it's mine? He finally asked, not looking at me. The question hit like a slap. You're the only one I've been with in over a year. But if you don't believe me, I can smell it. He turned abruptly, and something feral flashed in his eyes. My scent is all over you. The baby. He took a shuddering breath. It's definitely mine. I can sense it. The certainty in his voice should have been comforting. Instead, it terrified me. I didn't come here to trap you, I said quietly. I didn't even know how to find you until today. The old woman, she said. I stopped, unsure how much to reveal. What old woman? He was suddenly in front of me, gripping my shoulders. Who have you told? A healer. Dr. Chen sent me. She said I'm Omega and you're Alpha, and if we don't complete the bond before the baby comes, we'll die. Yes, I know. He released me, turning away. Damn it. This is exactly what I was trying to avoid. Trying to avoid? You mean me? Anger flared through the fear. I didn't ask for this either. That's not... He pressed his palms against the window. You don't understand. My family, they have rules. Expectations. I was supposed to marry someone of equal status, produce heirs through proper channels, maintain the bloodline's reputation. He laughed bitterly. Instead, I got drunk on champagne and freedom and ruined everything. Ruined? The word gutted me. Is that what I am? A mistake? He was silent for too long. I headed for the door. I shouldn't have come. I'll figure something else out. You'll marry me. I froze. What? Tomorrow. We'll marry tomorrow. He turned, and his face was a mask of cold determination. My family has strict rules about heirs. If word gets out that I fathered a child out of wedlock with a common Omega, it would be a scandal that could destroy decades of political alliances. My father would. He stopped. It doesn't matter. You'll become my spouse, live in the estate, want for nothing. And what about love? I asked bitterly. Or does that not matter to people like you? His eyes were chips of ice. Love is a fairy tale for children. This is a business arrangement. You get security, medical care, and wealth. I get a legitimate heir and no scandal. The bond will be completed, you'll survive the birth, and everyone gets what they need. Except a real marriage, I whispered. Real marriages in my world are arranged anyway. At least this one serves a purpose. He pulled out his phone. I'll have my lawyer draw up the papers. The ceremony will be private, just us and 2 witnesses. You'll sign an NDA about the circumstances of our meeting. Each word felt like a nail in a coffin. And after? After the baby is born? He hesitated. What do you want? The question surprised me. I thought about it, really thought about what I could live with. Once the baby is born and I'm recovered, if you still don't want me, let me go. Give me enough to start over somewhere new, and I'll leave you and the baby in peace. Something flickered across his face, pain, maybe, or anger. But it vanished as quickly as it appeared. You'd leave your child? I'd leave a life where I'm not wanted, I corrected. But I'd make sure our baby has everything they need first. That's the difference between us. I actually care about more than just appearances. His jaw clenched. Fine. But until then, you play the role perfectly. Loving spouse in public, no scandals, no drama. Can you do that? I thought about the old woman's warning. About dying in childbirth. About this tiny life growing impossibly fast inside me. I didn't have a choice, not really. Deal, I said, extending my hand. His grip was firm, professional. But when our skin touched, that electric current sparked between us again. The same one from that night. His eyes widened slightly and I knew he felt it too. One more thing, he said, not releasing my hand. We'll need to share a bedroom. Appearances matter, and servants talk. But I won't touch you. Not like that night. This is business only. The rejection stung more than it should have. Fine. He finally let go. My assistant will take you shopping tomorrow morning. You'll need appropriate clothing. The ceremony is at 2 p.m. That fast. My father returns from Geneva in 3 days. This needs to be done before then. Something dark crossed his face. He can't know about the circumstances. As far as anyone knows, we've been secretly courting for months. But what would he do? It doesn't matter. But his hands trembled slightly as he poured himself a drink. Just trust me. The less my father knows, the safer you are. Safer. The word hung in the air like a threat. I should go, I started. You're staying here tonight. I'll take the guest room. He was already texting someone. Can't risk you disappearing again. Besides, you look exhausted. I was. Bone deep, soul tired, exhausted. Why are you really doing this? I asked softly. The truth. He looked at me for a long moment, those ice blue eyes unreadable. Because you're carrying my child. And whatever else I am, I protect what's mine. What's mine? Not who's mine. I was just another possession to him. As he showed me to a bedroom more luxurious than anywhere I'd ever slept, I realized I'd just agreed to marry a man who saw me as nothing more than an obligation. In less than 24 hours, I'd become the Duchess of Ashford. And I'd never felt more alone. 3 months had passed since I became the Duchess of Ashford. 3 months of living in a gilded cage with a husband who barely looked at me. The wedding had been quick and cold. Just us, 2 lawyers as witnesses, and vows that felt like a business contract. Damien had kissed me at the end, a brief press of lips that sent shivers down my spine despite its clinical nature. Then he'd retreated back into his ice. In public he played his role flawlessly. Gentle touches on my lower back. His hand covering mine at dinner parties. introducing me as my beloved to nobles who looked at me like I was a stain on their world. But the moment we were alone, the warmth evaporated. We shared a bedroom as agreed, but he stayed on his side of the massive bed, careful never to touch me. Some nights I'd wake to find him watching me, something tortured in his expression, but he'd always look away before I could speak. My body continued its rapid transformation. At 5 months, I looked ready to pop. The baby, our baby, was impossibly active, especially when Damien was near. Like they could sense their father even through my skin. The air is strong, the family physician had said with approval, not knowing how literally true that was. I was lonely, desperately, achingly lonely. The other nobles ignored me, the servants pitied me, and my husband treated me like a fragile vase he was obligated to protect. Until tonight. It was 2 a.m. when I heard it, a sound that made my blood run cold. Screaming. Raw, anguished screaming coming from Damien's study down the hall. I should have stayed in bed. Should have remembered he wanted distance. But something pulled me forward, some bond deeper than his cold words. I found him on the floor, tangled in blankets he must have brought from the couch. He thrashed violently, his face twisted in terror, words pouring out between gasps. Please, I'll do anything. Julian. Damien. I knelt beside him, shaking his shoulder. Wake up. His eyes flew open, wild, unfocused, glowing that eerie alpha gold. His hand shot out, gripping my throat before recognition crashed through him. He released me instantly, scrambling backward. God, did I hurt you? The baby. We're fine, I said softly, though my heart hammered. You were having a nightmare. He looked shattered. Completely, utterly broken. And before I could say anything else, the Duke of Ashford, cold, untouchable, perfect, began to cry. I'm sorry, he choked out. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I moved closer, carefully, like approaching a wounded animal. Who's Julian? The name made him flinch. For a long moment, I thought he wouldn't answer. Then it all came pouring out, 5 years of secrets and grief. Julian had been his first love. An Omega he'd met at university, before his father had tightened control. They'd planned to run away together, start a life free from duty and expectations. We were going to leave the night of my graduation, Damien said, his voice hollow. I had everything arranged. New identities, a house in Scotland, enough money to last until we figured things out. His hands trembled. But my father found out. I don't know how, but he knew. What did he do? I asked, though dread already curled in my stomach. He had Julian killed. The words were flat, emotionless, like he'd repeated them so many times they'd lost meaning. Made it look like a car accident. Crushed me at the funeral and whispered that if I ever bonded with an Omega again, he'd do worse. He'd make me watch. Horror washed over me. Damien. That's why I went to that masquerade in disguise, he continued. One last night of freedom before accepting an arranged marriage to Sebastian, a high society alpha my father chose. Someone appropriate. Someone who couldn't be used against me. But then you met me, I whispered. He finally looked at me, and the emotion in his eyes stole my breath. You were so beautiful. So genuine. You looked at me like I was just a person, not a title or a bank account. For those few hours, I forgot about everything, Julian, my father, the cage I was trapped in. His voice broke. And then I woke up and saw the marks I left on you. Saw what we'd done. If my father found out I'd bonded with another Omega. So you ran, I finished. I thought if I never saw you again, the bond wouldn't fully form. That you'd be safe from him. He laughed bitterly. Then fate brought you back. Pregnant. I had to marry you before my father returned from Geneva. Had to make it look legitimate, planned, so he wouldn't question it too closely. Understanding crashed through me. The coldness. The distance. You were trying to protect you. He reached out tentatively, his hand hovering over my swollen belly. If he sees that I care about you, if he knows I'm falling for you the way I fell for Julian. His hand dropped. I can't lose you too. I can't. My hand found his, pressing it against where our baby kicked. Your father can't control you forever. He can. He's threatened to disinherit me, to take everything. Without my title and wealth, how would I protect you? Protect our baby? His voice cracked. You don't understand what he's capable of. The things he's done. Then we fight, I said firmly. Together. I didn't survive this long just to live as a ghost in your house. And our baby deserves parents who aren't afraid to love each other. He'll kill you, Damien whispered. Like he killed Julian. Then we'll be smarter than Julian. We'll be ready. I cupped his face, forcing him to meet my eyes. I'm not running, Damien. Not from you, not from your father. I'm already in this. Might as well actually live. For the first time since our wedding, Damien truly smiled. He pulled me close, careful of my belly, and pressed his forehead to mine. I don't deserve you. Probably not, I agreed. But you're stuck with me now. Our baby kicked hard, making us both laugh through tears. In that moment, wrapped in each other's arms, I felt the ice finally crack. The war with his father was coming. But at least now, we'd face it together.